An actual infinity cannot exist in the real world.
This points to the existence of God as ultimate first cause that created all of physical reality. Infinity is a concept that has fascinated mathematicians, philosophers, and theologians for centuries. While the idea of infinity is a powerful and useful tool in mathematics, it becomes much more problematic when applied to the real world. The question of whether an actual infinity, something infinite in extent, duration, or quantity, can exist in reality is a topic of considerable debate. Many philosophers and scientists argue that an actual infinity cannot exist in the real world, and there are strong logical, philosophical, and empirical reasons to support this view. In this video, we will explore why the concept of an actual infinity is incompatible with the nature of the physical universe and why it will always remain a theoretical abstraction rather than a real-world phenomenon. Understanding actual infinity versus potential infinity. Before diving into the reasons why an actual infinity cannot exist in the real world, it is important to distinguish between two types of infinity: actual infinity and potential infinity. Actual infinity. This refers to a completed, infinite quantity or extent. An actual infinity is a set or collection that contains an infinite number of elements, all existing simultaneously and fully realized. In the context of time or space, it would imply that something has no beginning or end and is infinite in both directions. Potential infinity. This is a process that can continue indefinitely but is never completed. For example, counting numbers can go on forever, but at any given moment, only a finite number of numbers have been counted. The process is infinite in potential but not in actuality. While potential infinity is a concept that can be applied in various processes and mathematical models, the idea of an actual infinity, a completed infinite set, becomes problematic when applied to the real world. Logical and philosophical problems with actual infinity. 1. The paradoxes of infinity. One of the main reasons why an actual infinity cannot exist in the real world is the paradoxes that arise from the concept of infinity. A famous example is Hilbert's hotel, a thought experiment proposed by the German mathematician David Hilbert. Imagine a hotel with an infinite number of rooms, all of which are occupied. If a new guest arrives, the hotel manager can still accommodate them by moving each current guest from room N to room N+1, thereby freeing up room 1. Despite being fully occupied, the hotel can always accommodate more guests, which leads to paradoxical conclusions. This paradox highlights the strange and counterintuitive properties of infinity, which do not align with our understanding of the physical world. In reality, a hotel with an infinite number of rooms or guests is impossible, as it would violate basic principles of space, time, and matter. The paradoxes associated with actual infinity suggest that it cannot be a feature of the real world. 2. The problem of infinite regress. The concept of infinite regress is another philosophical challenge to the idea of an actual infinity in the real world. Infinite regress occurs when a sequence of reasoning, events, or causes extends backward infinitely with no starting point. For example, if every event in the universe were caused by a prior event, and this chain extended infinitely into the past, there would be no first cause or explanation for the sequence as a whole. The impossibility of traversing or completing an infinite regress suggests that an actual infinity cannot exist in reality. If an infinite regress were possible, we would never arrive at the present moment because an infinite sequence cannot be crossed or completed. The need for a first cause or starting point reinforces the idea that an actual infinity is not compatible with the nature of causality in the real world. 3. Mathematical abstractions versus physical reality. Infinity is a well-established concept in mathematics, where it is used as an abstract tool to describe endless processes, infinite sets, and unbounded quantities. However, mathematics operates in the realm of idealized abstractions, not physical reality. The mathematical concept of infinity is useful in theoretical models, but when applied to the real world, it leads to contradictions and paradoxes. For example, in mathematics, we can speak of an infinite set of numbers or an unbounded geometric plane. However, these are purely abstract constructs that do not correspond to any physical reality. The physical universe is finite in size and governed by the laws of physics, which do not permit the existence of actual infinities. The distinction between mathematical abstraction and physical reality underscores the limitations of applying the concept of infinity to the real world. Empirical and physical considerations. 1. The finite nature of the universe. The observable universe is finite in size, age, and energy. It began with the Big Bang approximately 13.8 billion years ago and has been expanding ever since. While the universe may be vast, it is not infinite in extent or duration. The finite nature of the universe suggests that actual infinity is not a feature of the physical world. In cosmology, the idea of an infinite universe is sometimes discussed, particularly in models involving a multiverse or an infinite number of parallel universes. However, these models remain speculative and face significant challenges, both theoretically and empirically. The finite nature of the universe as we understand it today provides strong evidence against the existence of actual infinity in reality.
2. The laws of thermodynamics.
The laws of thermodynamics, which govern the behavior of energy and matter, also imply that an actual infinity cannot exist in the real world. The second law of thermodynamics states that entropy, or disorder, in a closed system will always increase over time, leading to a state of maximum entropy or heat death. This process implies that time and energy are finite and that the universe is moving toward a specific endpoint. If the universe were infinite in duration, it would have already reached a state of maximum entropy, which contradicts the observable fact that the universe is still in a state of change and evolution. The finite nature of time and energy, as described by the laws of thermodynamics, further supports the conclusion that an actual infinity cannot exist in the physical world.
3. The impossibility of infinite divisibility.
Another consideration is the impossibility of infinite divisibility in the physical world. In mathematics, we can divide a line segment infinitely, but in the real world, there are limits to how small things can be divided. For example, Planck length is considered the smallest measurable unit of length in the universe, below which the concepts of space and time cease to have any meaning. The existence of fundamental limits like the Planck length indicates that physical reality is not infinitely divisible and that there are constraints on how far we can push the concept of infinity in the real world. This suggests that actual infinity is not a feature of physical reality.
Conclusion.
The concept of actual infinity, while useful in mathematical and theoretical contexts, is fraught with paradoxes and contradictions when applied to the real world. The impossibility of traversing an infinite regress, the finite nature of the universe, and the constraints imposed by the laws of physics all point to the conclusion that an actual infinity cannot exist in reality. Infinity remains a powerful abstract concept, but it is not something that can be fully realized in the physical world. The limitations of applying infinity to reality highlight the need for a more nuanced understanding of the universe, one that recognizes the finite, contingent nature of existence and the boundaries imposed by the laws of nature. In summary, the impossibility of actual infinity in the real world underscores the finite nature of the universe and the need for explanations that are grounded in empirical and logical reasoning. Infinity may be an essential tool in mathematics, but in the realm of physical reality, it remains an abstract ideal rather than a tangible feature of the universe. This points to the existence of God as ultimate first cause that created all of physical reality. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and comment below if you agree, or would like to add your thoughts.